25 years after the revival of the East African community effort. We need to remember that at the time of independence, the three countries, Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya, had common services, even had a common currency, which unfortunately broke down in '77. So we thank the leaders of the three countries who resurrected that. It's the most logical thing that we need to do on this African continent. One hopes that East African community integration process will succeed, much as SADC should ECOWAS at the same time. Because the global situation is so complex right now, and our survival as countries is through regional integration to ensure that our economies are fully integrated. Some strides have been made in regard to the East African integration process. Customs Union Protocol was signed a while back, and then the Common Market, which was supposed to be followed by the Monetary Union, and then eventually, and the last step would have been political integration. There were initial fears even before signing and implementing the customs union. There were real fears in the three countries at that time, and eventually the two which joined Rwanda and Burundi. But the experience we've gone through, where after the signing of the customs union protocol, the fears were found to be baseless. All the countries actually benefited. Now, if there was discipline and focus to operationalize it fully, and for it to be followed by the signing and operationalization of the common market, the outcomes would be much, much better. The economies of all the countries would be benefiting more than what we see now. The unfortunate thing that I notice at the level of the political leadership is that there seems to be a sense that these leaders in the countries in the region seem to want to eat their cake and have it at the same time. And it's not possible to integrate a region. Tanzania was going to actually become independent fast. He had offered to delay the independence of Tanzania so that Uganda and Kenya would all become independent at the same time, and he had offered and proposed that there should be integration, and he said he doesn't even have to be a leader of the integrated country. He said, I could be deployed anywhere else. Unfortunately, even then, as is still now, which I think he subsequently said at some point, that on the African continent, the driving thinking of many of the leaders is that it's like they want to remain big fish in small ponds. That's the mentality when you look all over. The experience, for example, of the United States of America, if one would use it as an example of a federal arrangement. If you look at, for example, one state like California on its own, if you put it outside the United States of America economy, would be the 5th largest economy in the world. But then you go find smaller states, much smaller in size, much smaller in population, and much smaller in terms of economies. So it doesn't matter. All of it is United States. You can go, if you are in the United States, a business person or someone who goes to invest in the United States, you can go and do business in Florida, you can do it in California, you can do it in New York, you can do it in Delaware, any state. You will move your business and do it wherever you find that there's a opportunity to do that. So still here, what would it matter? If you are Kenyan and you can invest in Uganda, if you are Ugandan, you can invest in Tanzania.
Of course, when you look at the objectives of the treaty, I want to add my voice to what my brother Samunto has said. One common market, one customs union, one monetary union, one currency, and the federation. The major focus and the intention and the spirit of those who started it. There is no way now countries can survive in the economies of the world without these big blocks. I can give an example like European Union. They concentrated there. You see what is happening. UK tried to exit, is suffering. So the spirit and the founder fathers of this bloc, their spirit were saying, okay, we as citizens of a particular country to have a huge common market that the intra-trade without any hindrance, that we should trade together, we should integrate, and we should deepen that integration without any non-tariff barrier, any tariff barrier. And when you look at that, that's when you can prosper. The citizens can enjoy. And one of the serious areas that really we need to concentrate on, leaders think that the integration is for leaders. No, the integration is for citizens. Because for me, if I'm a businessman, I want to go to Tanzania. Why should I find a border when I'm trading the same market niche? These 4 pillars in the treaty are there. The leaders should not think that the integration is theirs. No, the integration is for the citizens. I come from here, I go to Rwanda without an ID, I transact my business, I come back to Uganda. For instance, I can take an example. Why should somebody move from here to go to Tanzania in the same market and you tell me don't bring your goods? Why? What are the protocols within the customs union, the single customs territory, tell you that please, all of you in the same market, you should trade and you should interact. Free movement of people. Today, currently, what is happening, I can give an example. There is in that treaty the coalition of the willing. Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda went ahead when some people delayed and established an ID visa. That when you come from here, you don't need a passport. You go to Entebbe, you fly to Kenya, they will give you an entry. You move from here, you go to Rwanda, they will give you an entry. But Tanzania, it's not. So this is what my brother was saying, that if you opened up to work together, we should make sure that these limitations to the citizens are no longer a burden to people who want to do business. Because what is the interest of the citizens of the country? It's prosperity.
Unfortunately, at the top leadership level, it's just a mindset problem. They have completely failed to see East Africa as one integrated economic unit. If they only saw it that way, if they reflected what happens in each country and reflected it at the regional level, it would help in solving all these problems. Look at Uganda, if I give Uganda as an example. Uganda is just one market. Any businessman in Chikubu or anybody from anywhere in the country can decide to trade in any town. Move one thing from Arua, take it to Busia, move anything from Moroto, take it to Kabare, move anything from Kabare to Masindi, to Masaka, wherever they want to go, without having to go through any hassles at all, because it's an integrated market. So if they only looked at East Africa in that way, then it would enable them to solve most of the outstanding problems. But there is fear. But I think also, in a sense, narrow-mindedness. Because they seem not to recognize that even the domestic challenges they are meeting now in each country, that the integration process would be a solution to a number of domestic issues that they are faced with. But the challenge most of the countries have is to cede power. Because for you to fully integrate at the East African level, there are things which you must release out of your control. And that scares the hell out of most of these leaders. That's where the challenge.
It's a pleasure for me to be on the same panel with the Honorable General Mugisha Muntu and the Honorable James Kakoza. For the record, the Treaty for Establishment of the East African Community provides that the integration should be people-centered and private sector-led. That is very critical. Now, what happens at the moment, as General Muntu has rightly reported, the leadership at strategic level, in my opinion, seem not to have given attention to that provision of the treaty. If I may paint a picture of a family, what informs the head of a family, the father's spending, is ideally based on the younger ones. Now, whatever the East African community leaders at strategic level are doing must be punctuated by the ordinary citizens, because the treaty provides for that. What we see right now as that is boggling the progress of the integration is, to me, lack of the political free will. In the community, as you know, it started with the 3 member states, Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania. As we speak now, we have grown the family to 8 partner states. But one would ask, as the community expands, yes, we appreciate the widening of the market. We look at the strategic security across the partner states. But what are the challenges that come with the rapid expansion? Because every partner state that has joined has instead, in my opinion, in one or the other, derailed and delayed the integration process. That momentum. That's why Honorable Kakoza talked about the coalition of the willing. You would wonder, by 2024, if you looked at the treaty for the establishment of EAC, the Monetary Union Protocol, which is the 3rd pillar, by 2024, the framers envisioned that East African community would be having a single currency by this year, 2024. How far have we gone? We still have, as we talk now in 2024, 8 partner states. Only 3, Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania, would allow free movement of people using their national IDs. We have countries that have, up to this minute, continued to charge visas, whereas the treaty provides for free movement of people, goods, and services. Something else that is very disturbing to us, the young people, if I may come to the question as you asked it. You look at the issue of the members that have joined the community. We have a challenge of funding at the EAC Secretariat. Now, every partner are completely not paying. Others have failed to pick that spirit of the founding fathers. So now, if you have 3 countries, members out of 8, who are paying their subscription to the Secretariat, and then it's the same resource envelope that you must use to share within the 8 partner states, that has caused a challenge to the community.
Into such a block, there is an interest where you are joining. And once you agree, you don't go back and somersault. You must come with an open heart that lead it. I can give an example. The common market you are in, all of you are going to benefit. Because if you have factories which can supply South Sudan, and South Sudan is not yet there, isn't South Sudan benefiting? It's benefiting. You have to look at a bigger picture than yourself. When you come and say, no, me, I'm from South Sudan, I think that syndrome, which the mindset, you have when you're in a block, you look at a bigger picture than yourself.
Pictures for now failed to be seen working.
I think the problem is unhonesty. For me, I think it's unhonesty.
The leaders?
Yeah, because for me, the citizen, them, they are ready to move. Why are you not moving? And why do you think that the leader, that's the integration belongs to you? You see, somebody from Uganda wants to trade business in Congo. He doesn't want to know either you're a president or not. Him is interested, he has a factory, he has to access a market of almost 400 million people. If you're accessing a market of 400 million people, let's say if I'm a businessman and I'm free to move there, if I produce one item which I can pick a difference of $1, that's already $400 million. That's the citizen what he's interested in, because you have a common market of 400 million. So anything impeding me not to enter into that market, I find it as a disservice.
Can't even understand why on earth they be done the way they do them. To me, it doesn't make sense, for example, try to hasten federation before you solve even the simpler problems of free movement of people. A common market. If you cannot sign a protocol and fully implement it for free movement of,
Goods and services.
And then you go headlong to hasten integration at the federation level, you have not even dealt with an issue of monetary union. You've not worked on having a common currency. It baffles me. I simply can't understand it. But there are leaders up there. I suspect they make decisions. I just simply can't understand how you can try to hasten political integration before you are able to deal even with the simplest of things, removing non-tariff barriers to ensure that there is a vibrant customs union implementation process, or to allow free movement of people, in which case they would have to have national IDs for all these countries. Now we have technology, integrate systems, and then have people move. Like a Tanzanian can move from Mbeya to Arusha, a distance of more than 1,000 kilometers, or go to Chigoma. Like a Kenyan can move from Mombasa to Rokchogio. Like a Ugandan can move from Kisoro to Moroto without any problem at all. So if you integrate the immigration systems, and all countries have got national IDs for citizens, that would be the same way, like now someone would leave Mombasa and go to Kisangani, or leave Kisangani and go to Chigoma.
Yes,
Once you integrate the free movement of persons, they have got national IDs. You ensure that security services are also integrated, that they can track, and therefore you can prevent crime. Why on earth will you not let people move and trade? So when you do that, it means you bring the community closer to the people. They start benefiting from that. And then on the basis of that, you can start talking about political integration. The process is read in the sense of who is going to become what. Not how does the population of 300 million people plus benefit from the integration process, whether the political elite are part of the leadership at the regional level or not. That's the knot that has to be untied. And it cannot be untied until we get leaders in the political elite of all these countries. If out of 8 you get about 4 or 5 leaders who understand the benefit of integration from the perspective of the citizen and the countries, then that knot will have been broken. Before that, it will just simply be stories, as I notice now.
In Kiswahili, there is a statement, ulinzi shirikishi, which would loosely translate as community policing, working together. Now, it buys into the provision of the treaty for free movement of people, goods, and services. Once the integration gospel is domesticated and the Wananchi own this integration as theirs, then it is incumbent upon them to try and fight crime and terrorism in the region. It is because the treaty framers were very clear that whatever we do has to be people-centered and private sector-led. Now, what happens is a disconnect right now. Wananchi look at the leaders as the owners of this thing called regional integration. Once they own the integration and they see the low-hanging fruits associated with our unity, then they will take it upon themselves to protect the security within the region. Because the security forces can do so much without the involvement of the wananchi. Now, it is very disturbing when you look at what is happening at present. Yes, the spirit is good to have a regional force which will ensure a presence of security and stability in the region. But when we deployed in Congo, as a regional force deployed in Congo, you saw what happened. Hardly a year and a half, issues began coming up, and Congo had to send away a regional force, which is an indictment on the leadership of the community. So we now see a force from another bloc, SADC, coming to take charge of the security in Congo. That is a very big challenge, and it's an indictment. To me, it goes back to failure to domesticate the integration agenda to the ordinary wananchi so that they can own it. Then finally, on that, you see, it's until our leaders get to appreciate that we don't stand to benefit the same from the community, because we are naturally gifted differently. Uganda and Burundi, Rwanda, South Sudan, these are landlocked countries, whereas Kenya and Tanzania have seaports. Now, whatever we do as a region, and this is a big challenge I've witnessed for the past 10 years plus, people tend to see that whatever we do, Kenya and Tanzania seem to be benefiting a lot from the integration. Now, it's also a weakness on the leadership side, failing to say, let us look at the GDPs of these partner states. Who should pay what? Apparently, what is at present, we all pay the same. And that also is a challenge.
Sort of mindset, not looking at a bigger picture, that EAC, once integrated, those are the problems you must solve first. You must assure the people when they are moving have to be secure. And when you secure, that means there is a market. When you market, then people are ready to move in and people are ready to develop. So the moment you come with that physical, psychological sort of thinking, like because DRC is thinking that Rwanda is sending people there, but this is what actually Mwalimu Nyerere said. You people, these borders which were brought to us, they were brought to divide us. Because you are telling somebody, when they were dividing Rwanda, a certain part of people from Rwanda, it was given to the other side. But now you are telling them after 50 years that get out, where should they go? It's like when he was saying that I cannot move from here and tell Masai of Kenya that go back, Masai of Tanzania that go back to Kenya. So we should come out of that and think that really the people we are reading, what do they want? Them, they are interested in business. They are interested to facilitate them, that they can interact. If I can move from here and go to Kenya and say, I'm a Ugandan with my ID, I can interact free with that Tanzanian, that Kenyan. But don't look at me as a Ugandan. Look at me as all of us coming from the same block, trading together.
Mindset at the political leadership in all the countries. Because the business of government ordinarily is to invest or create an environment in which services are delivered to people, to create an environment in which the citizens are able to prosper in the different endeavors in which they are. The moment you have that kind of mindset in the different countries at the level of governance, there is no problem which cannot be resolved. But critical in nature is maybe if we compare where we are at, compare with some, I see smaller countries, for example, in Europe, but advanced in economic terms, small in land size, small in populations, but with big economies. Here, we have got a large land mass, a large population, but weak economies. Why? leadership. And that's what we need to sort out. Maybe to give a clear picture, I have to read some statistics so that we can understand the magnitude of the problem that we are in as a people. Small in populations, but big economies. And then compare them with East African Community once you integrate the 8. Hopefully the leaders at the national level enough and focused and put the citizens as the most critical thing. I start with Belgium is 11,774 square miles. Switzerland is 15,940 square miles. Netherlands is 16,164 square miles. East Africa integrated is 104,147 square miles. Population. Belgium is 11.7 million people. Switzerland is 8.9 million people. Netherlands is 18.1 million people. The integrated population, the population of the integrated East Africa is 328,958 million people. That's a market. If you do the necessary things to have people having the capacity to spend, that's a huge market. GDP, or the size of the economies, is not so much what we say, it's what we do. Because we should know that. Because in spite of all that, the size of our economy, all the 8 countries combined, is 349 billion United States dollars. If you compare just with the Netherlands, which has the highest amongst those 3, it is 1.1 trillion. That's close to 4 times. The size of the economy of the Netherlands is about 4 times the size of bigger than East Africa combined. Per capita income, if I use the highest one in this case is Switzerland. If you divide all if you are to divide the size, the GDP, the size of the economy of Switzerland into the population it has, every Swiss citizen would get $105,669. If you combine the economies of all the 8 countries and divide the GDP per person in the population of the whole East Africa, each citizen would get $1,019. Now, if that is not a crisis, what is? And yet there is opportunity in terms of the potential for growth, in terms of mineral resources, in terms of the large size of the land mass, in terms of agriculture.
This year, 2024, on the 14th of October, East Africa and Africa in general will be commemorating 25 years after the passing of Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. So as young people from the East African community, we sat down and came up with an idea that as the process takes place, we need to reflect on the enduring legacy and the values of Mwalimu Nyerere. So we chose to organize a pilgrimage to Butiama. His birth and resting place. You know, every year on the 1st of June in Uganda, towards as a build-up to Martyrs Day on 3rd June, there are prayers in Namugongo for the canonization process towards the sainthood for Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. So this year, on the 14th of October, we are going to have a pilgrimage to Butiama, where Mwalimu Nyerere was born and where he was laid to rest, to sit down and have a reflective dialogue as young people in the presence of the leaders the founding mothers, Mama Miria Obote, Mama Maria Nyerere, and Mama Ngina Kenyatta, and our senior leaders who have been at it. We want to have a candid talk. 25 years down the road, what have we achieved? What are the bottlenecks, and how do we address them? That will be happening on the 14th of October in Butiama, Tanzania.
Tanzania was lucky to have the late Mwalimu Kambarage Nyerere as its founding leader, because he built it to what it has become. Built the Tanzanian nation. They have an identity as a Tanzanian people. They have strong institutions, and whatever challenges they make, they are able to overcome them through their own internal systems. They have challenges as the rest of us have, but Tanzania is a nation. The late Mwalimu Nyerere had one quality. He cared about the country more than himself. And he was humble. You can even see at the time of retirement, he recognized that Tanzania had reached a point where someone else had to step in. They didn't have term limits when he stepped aside. Term limits were introduced at his own initiation after stepping aside. Now, when leaders are selfless, the countries that are lucky to have them to lead benefit a lot. One hopes that other leaders can learn from that. Very, very firm. He was also very strong-willed, but humble. One hopes that other African leaders can learn from the late Mwalimu Nyerere, and also the current generation, those who maybe hope to lead and hopefully be able to overcome the challenges that their countries face. Character is very, very important, and that's one thing, at least, the legacy of Mwalimu Nyerere leaves to the rest of us.
What should we learn about
The vision of Mwalimu Nyerere, it takes more to other leaders within the African continent. But really, like the Kwame Nkrumah, like the Lumumbas, they had a vision of patriotism, PAN Africanism, that the continent itself is facing a problem like any other continent. But how do we go about them? And these are the leaders, their vision. That's why they started forming blocks and say, now, if we have a challenge of security politically, how do we, within the same bloc, make sure that people have peace? Economically, how do we benefit? When you look at now, since 25 years of East African Community, the intra-trade has increased more than the importation from other countries not belonging in East Africa. And that's where the strength we should go. That's the strength we should go, to eliminate the weaknesses we have. That all of us, if we think out that really countries, we are going to live with them, because you will be at the stage you leave it, but then others will come in. But what are you leaving behind to the people to understand? And the only way, once you form a coalition or a bloc of such a nature, people must be integrated, that these other driving forces will come. Like with the moment you have a common market and you have a customs union, people trade, it will drive the monetary union. And the monetary union, once it drives the monetary union, the federation automatically will come. Because the moment a businessman and citizens are participating, are thinking that I can't move, I no longer want to move with a baggage of Uganda shillings to go to Tanzania to buy, you will just pick a flight and go to Tanzania, Kenya, and these are the forces. And when you go along with those visions of those leaders, I think the continent should be different, totally different.
A key catalyst is communication. So, the deliberate effort by Mwalimu Julius Nyerere to not only build a nation, but also promote a single language called Kiswahili. So we look forward as young people in the community to see deliberate, the intentionality by leaders at strategic level to promote the use of Kiswahili to facilitate trade within the East African community.
On the hiccups on economies, because EAC survives on contributions from partner states. Others are contributing and others are not contributing. We had forwarded a solution that anybody accessing within the East African community, they must be at source. You must contribute $1 to avoid an alternative mechanism of financing that any country which faces such economic hurdles, at source you are ready to get the money and it's predictable to sustain what the treaty is talking about. And once you do that, it's a simple thing that you collect the money, because I know the budget of the East African Community, which is almost $120 million. And to anybody accessing the market within the region, the foreign direct investors, the imports we get from other partner states, $1 is not expensive. And anybody who can achieve what you want. Despite on the trade laws which we've made, the legal framework even is still wanting. Because for me, I don't find it really imperative that really I can produce goods in Uganda, I go to the border of South Sudan, that I don't meet standards of South Sudan. So there must be a superior law that controls all the standards within the manufacturing partner states. That the goods, once you come from here, you go to Tanzania, they meet the standard. And somebody to that, there must be a legal framework. And those legal frameworks must be done so that anybody who is trading in any manufactured product within the partner state is free to move freely, not to go to the border. You go from here, you stop at Kenya, they stop you. You go to Tanzania, they stop you. These are the things now which need to be worked out. I tell you, we've achieved, when we went to East African Customs Union, a single customs territory, the turnaround time, a good to move from Mombasa to Kampala, it takes 3 days to take 35. What is not possible? Everything can be possible, but also the mind change to see that the powers we agreed, that we came together. You don't come back and somersault to what you agreed upon. That's the real honesty that we need. We agreed to work together. We must be a team, and to concretize that readers must know that the integration is not for readers, it's for the people. Assembly, there is what we call sovereignty. Actually, in the treaty, there is where a president finds a hiccup, he can call his colleagues. He sits with the heads of summit to discuss the internal mechanisms. But as an assembly, you are limited. You can't do much because the treaty does not allow that.
The late Julius Kambarage Nyerere left a positive legacy, a legacy that needs to be celebrated, a legacy that should enable those who are interested in governance, not only in this region, but on the African continent, to copy, to put country before self. Because the late Mwalimu Nyerere exemplifies that. And see what Tanzania is doing now, the foundation, the farm foundation that he left for them. Right now, as we speak, Tanzania operates on institutions, not around an individual. That was possible because of what the late Nyerere did. But in a number of other countries, they have their own challenges, but we'll keep fighting until we hopefully bring sanity to where there seems to be insanity. Integration process should be at the core of the thinking in all the different capitals. Because when these economies are fully integrated, it brings solutions to all these challenges that we are talking about. Because when you integrate an economy, and it is that huge, the economic potential that there is would lead to creation of jobs, would lead to industrialization, would lead to investments in the developing of human capital in all these countries and for the region. Many of the challenges that we face, for example, look at the current challenges of the young people who are jobless. How will they get jobs? How will people feel satisfied in terms of the outcomes of whatever investments they are doing in whatever area of endeavor, unless we focus on one, growing the economies in the individual countries, but also integrating the economies of the countries, in this case 8, for a larger market, for purpose of exploiting the potential that we do have. We are in a crisis, basically. We just looked at an example of one country, Netherlands, with a GDP size of 1.1 trillion, and integrated East African countries, 300 plus. Netherlands, small as it is, has got a larger economy by 4 times the 8 countries combined. That's a crisis. If that really would not wake up leaders, what else would wake them up?
It's been